One of our loyal listeners asked me to go ahead and do an evaluation of an article that was published. And I have to admit, at first, when I read through it, I got a kick out of it. And I said, I have to check the date to make sure it's not an April Fool's joke before I put it out here, even though we're listening to it here in May. So it starts off with, let's start with a reality check. How many times have you excitedly launched a minimal viable product only to hear crickets? Or worse, your users try it once and make that disgusted face. You know the ones, like when your friends from the deep south accidentally get sugar-free tea instead of sweet tea and never ever go back. Mhm. The MVP concept was introduced by Eric Ries in a lean startup, and it was meant to be a game changer. But the smallest version of your product, you build the smallest version of your product, rather, get early feedback, and iterate. It sounds great in theory, but in practice, it often results in half-baked products that nobody really likes. Let's face it, MVPs are often just bad products. Let's stop there for a moment. I think this has to do with this is a symptom of a different problem. So for me, when I look at this, the first thing that I see is that this person is putting their toe in the water of discovery. They haven't really done initiate, they're doing discovery, but they're not doing it in the right way. So because they're still almost 98% in delivery and only 1 or 2% in discovery, they're not discovering the true purpose of what an MVP is for. So let's keep going and see where they take it. Here's what usually happens with an MVP. 1, it's too basic. It only does one thing and badly. 2, it's just ugly. Design, what's that? Nobody took the time. 3, it's confusing. The onboarding experience is only an afterthought. People don't know what to do with it. 4, it doesn't hook users. The viable part is so weak that users bounce faster than a bad date. In short, MVPs feel like someone is serving you an uncooked pizza and saying, imagine how good this will be once it's cooked. No thanks. I'd rather not get the food poisoning. But I think that if MVPs are about viability, we need to come up with something else. And this author says we should be focusing more on minimal lovable products, MLPs, because MLPs focus on lovability. Because no one shares a product that they only tolerate. So when you start asking yourself, okay, this sounds crazy, because that's exactly what I did. Why is a minimal lovable product better than a minimal viable product? Factor minimal viable product, minimal lovable product. Purpose, validate idea, create emotional connection. UX, UI, basic, often clunky, polished, delightful. I got it. So this is supposed to be like a table. With an MVP, the purpose is to validate the idea. The UI and UX is often basic. The user engagement is left at users try then leave. In iteration, it's iteration based on early feedback. Okay, when you're doing an MLP, it creates an emotional connection. It's usually polished and delightful. Users stay and advocate for the usage of the product, and you get the early feedback based on user excitement. So a great example of this is Slack. When Slack first launched, it wasn't just viable, it was fun. The quirky loading messages, emojis, GIF integrations made it instantly lovable. No one begged for a competitor. So here's why MVPs fail more often than they succeed. 90% of startups fail. A major reason? They launch half-baked products that fail to engage users. That's true. Users form opinions in about 0.05 seconds. I believe that too. If your MVP looks like a 1999 website, they're done. They're gone. Retention is the key to success. If users don't love your product, they won't stick around to see what your iterative improvements will be because they don't like your original product. So how do you now go about building an MLP instead of an MVP? You start at the top by solving a pain point in a delightful way. Your product should make users say, where have you been all my life? Not, oh great, another app I'll wind up deleting next week. Number 2, don't launch ugly. An MVP with poor design is like a new restaurant with dirty dishes and tables. Users won't wait for you to get around to washing the dishes or the tablecloths. They'll go to a different restaurant. Number 3, focus on the addictive hook. WhatsApp had free messaging. Instagram had filters that made everyone look like a pro. TikTok made anyone a perfect entertainer in 15 seconds. What's your hook? And then finally, number 4, prioritize delight over speed. Yeah, speed's crucial, but a delightful experience is what makes people stick around. Think of how Apple polishes its products before they launch them. MVPs sound great in theory, but too often they result in forgettable, uninspiring products. Instead of focusing on minimal viability, we should be focused on minimum lovability, because a product that people love will always win every time. So the next time someone tells you to build an MVP, ask them, would you rather date someone who's viable or someone who's lovable? Oh my goodness, that is the best closing line I've heard in a long time. I just want to say thank you to the author of this article. It was pretty awesome. I think her name was Garima. Garima, thank you so much for writing that. It is a powerful article, and you know what? It's true. So I want to thank you all for being here. If you have a topic you want us to discuss or an article you want me to review, feel free to reach out, learn more at AgileDad.com. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, I encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care. Bye now.